Let's be honest. Love after 60 is different. It's not like when we were young, swept up in the rush of passion, dreaming of forever without a second thought. By now, we've lived, we've loved, and we've learned. But there's something about loneliness that can make even the wisest of us vulnerable, and that's exactly why we need to talk. Because while love at any age is a gift, it can also be a gamble. The stakes, your peace, your happiness, your security. Some people will walk into your life bringing joy, laughter, and companionship. Others, they come with hidden intentions, seeking comfort, stability, or even financial gain at your expense. Buddhism teaches us that attachment, when rooted in illusion rather than truth, leads to suffering. We must learn to see things as they are, not just as we wish them to be. The heart may long for companionship, but the mind must remain clear. So let's dive into the truth about love and relationships later in life, not with fear, but with wisdom. Let's uncover how to welcome love without losing ourselves, how to trust without naivety, and how to embrace companionship without sacrificing the peace we've spent a lifetime building. The story of a woman who loved and lost. Let me share a story. There was a woman, a friend of a friend, who had built a wonderful life with her husband. They had dreams as vast as the open road, visions of golden years spent traveling, exploring new places, and simply enjoying the life they had worked so hard to build. Retirement was supposed to be their reward, a chapter filled with peace, love, and well-earned rest. But life, as it often does, had other plans. Her husband fell ill. It was sudden, unexpected. One day they were discussing their next vacation, and the next she was sitting beside him in a hospital room, gripping his hand as he fought for his life. Within a year, he was gone. And just like that, the future she had envisioned vanished. Grief has a way of reshaping the world. The house that once felt warm and inviting became a cavern of silence. The mornings stretched endlessly. The nights were the hardest. Lying in bed alone, the absence of his familiar presence pressing down on her like a weight she couldn't lift. Loneliness crept in, not just as a feeling, but as an unwelcome companion. She wasn't looking for love, not at first. But she was looking for connection, for companionship, for someone to fill the void that loss had left behind. And so, after some time, she started dating again. That's when she met him. A charming, attentive gentleman, the kind of man who seemed to know exactly what to say, how to make her laugh, how to make her feel seen again. He was warm, affectionate, and oh, how he listened, truly listened to her stories, her worries, her pain. He made her feel alive, like a woman again, not just a widow, navigating the empty corridors of life alone. At first, everything was perfect. He was thoughtful, always finding little ways to remind her that she was cherished. Flowers just because, sweet texts in the morning, candlelit dinners that made her feel like she was stepping into a second chance at happiness. But behind that charm lay something else. It started small. A forgotten wallet here, a little financial help there. "I'll pay you back," he'd say, with a sheepish smile. "You know I'd do the same for you." It was so minor that she didn't even register it as a red flag. After all, couples support each other, don't they? And then, little by little, it grew. The small requests turned into bigger ones. He needed help with rent one month, then with a car payment. There was always a reason, always an excuse, a promise that he was just in a rough patch, and she, wanting to be supportive, wanting to be loved, helped him. Then came the proposal. It felt romantic, serendipitous, a fresh start. "We're great together," he told her. "We understand each other," and she believed him. She married him. It wasn't until after the wedding that the truth became unavoidable. He had no financial stability of his own, no savings, no assets, only debts, which as his wife, she was now legally entangled with. The charming man, who had swept her off her feet, had become a weight around her neck. The emotional warmth he once gave so freely turned cold. He became entitled, dismissive, and when she finally saw him for who he was, when she tried to leave, she realized the depth of her mistake. Divorce at this stage in life was complicated. Worse still, he had health issues, and because she was the financially stable one, she was required to support him. 70 years old, paying alimony to a man who had taken advantage of her vulnerability, a man who had never truly loved her, only what she could provide. She had mistaken her loneliness for love, and it cost her dearly. How many times do we see this happen? How often do we hear stories of people, especially women, who open their hearts only to realize too late that they have given it to someone who never deserved it? Buddhism teaches us that suffering arises from attachment to illusions, to desires, to the longing for something we believe will complete us. But the truth is, no person can fill the void left by loss. No relationship should come at the cost of our peace. Love, when it is real, should be a source of strength, not a burden, and companionship should be a choice, not a desperate attempt to escape loneliness. If she had seen the warning signs earlier, if she had listened to that small voice of doubt, she might have saved herself years of stress and heartbreak. But she, like so many, wanted to believe in love more than she wanted to acknowledge the reality before her. Let her story be a reminder. Love is beautiful, but only when it is real, and real love never comes at the expense of your dignity, your security, or your peace. Buddhist wisdom on love and attachment. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from clinging to people, to expectations, to illusions. We grasp at what once was, hoping to reclaim a feeling, a connection, a sense of security that may no longer exist in the present moment. When we are vulnerable, our longing distorts reality. Instead of seeing clearly, we project our desires onto others, mistaking familiarity for destiny, comfort for love, and attachment for devotion. Consider the old Buddhist parable about a man crossing a river. He builds a raft to carry him across, using whatever materials he can find. The raft serves him well, carrying him safely to the other shore. But once he arrives, he refuses to leave it behind. Instead, he hoists it onto his back and continues his journey, struggling under its weight, failing to recognize that what once saved him is now holding him back. Love, too, can be like that raft. It serves us when we need it, offering companionship, warmth, and meaning. But if we cling to it beyond its purpose, beyond what is natural and balanced, it transforms from a gift into a burden. We must ask ourselves, are we opening our hearts to genuine connection, or are we clinging to something because we fear being alone? Let me share a story. There was a woman named Margaret, a retired teacher in her late 60s. She had been married for over 40 years to a man she deeply loved. They had built a life together, weathered hardships, raised children, and shared dreams of quiet retirement in their countryside home. But as fate would have it, her husband passed away unexpectedly, leaving her to navigate a world that suddenly felt unfamiliar and unbearably empty. The silence in the house was deafening. The chair he used to sit in remained untouched. The coffee cups sat side by side in the cupboard, just as they always had, though now only one was used. The weight of loss pressed down on her chest like a stone, and the loneliness became more than she could bear. Then one evening at a friend's dinner party, she met Richard. He was charming, attentive, and most importantly, present. He filled the empty space with conversation, with laughter, with the warmth of human presence. He reminded her of what it felt like to be wanted, to be seen, and so she opened her heart to him, believing that perhaps life had given her a second chance at love. But something wasn't quite right. Richard avoided discussions about his past. He had no stable income, no clear direction in life. When they went out, he conveniently forgot his wallet. When bills arrived, he spoke of financial troubles, hinting at her ability to help. At first, Margaret ignored these signs. She convinced herself that love meant supporting each other, that relationships required generosity. Then one day, a close friend pulled her aside and said, "Margaret, you're holding on to this man the way someone holds onto a raft that's already taken them across the river. He was there when you needed someone, but is he truly meant to walk with you now? Or are you carrying something that is weighing you down?" That question lingered in Margaret's mind. She started paying closer attention. She saw how often she justified his actions, how often she silenced the small voice of doubt inside her. And then, one evening, as she sat alone, she realized the truth. She wasn't in love with the idea of not being alone. She had clung to him, not because he was the right person, but because she feared the loneliness that had crept into her life after her husband's passing. With a deep breath, she made the difficult choice to let him go. It hurt, but in the end, she felt lighter. She realized she didn't need to grasp onto someone just to avoid facing her own solitude. Instead, she embraced the wisdom of the Buddha's teaching. She had crossed the river, and it was time to set down the raft. This is the lesson we must all remember. Love, when real, is freeing. It does not demand that we carry unnecessary burdens. True companionship is not about filling a void, but about walking alongside another soul in harmony. The moment we hold on to love, out of fear rather than joy, we must ask ourselves, are we truly in love, or are we simply afraid of what lies ahead if we stand alone? When we release attachment, when we see clearly, we give ourselves the chance to experience love as it is meant to be, pure, present, and free. Recognizing the predators, red flags to watch for. Not all relationships are built on love. Some are built on need, on control, on quiet manipulation disguised as affection. Some people step into our lives not to share in our joy, but to siphon it, slowly, deliberately, and often without us even realizing it until it's too late. These individuals, what we might call financial predators, are not always easy to spot, especially when we are in a vulnerable place. But they know how to find us, they study us, and they understand exactly which doors to knock on when seeking their next opportunity. So how do we recognize them before it's too late? How do we protect our hearts, our peace, and everything we've worked so hard to build? Here are the warning signs. If you see these, don't ignore them. Listen to that small, uneasy voice inside you, the one that senses when something is off before your heart is willing to admit it. Too much, too soon. Imagine meeting someone who makes you feel like the most extraordinary person in the world. They shower you with attention, call you their soulmate within weeks, make grand promises of a future together. It feels like a fairy tale, swept off your feet, caught in a whirlwind of passion. But beware. In Buddhism, attachment masquerading as love is one of the greatest illusions. Real love grows gently, like a tree taking root. It does not rush. It does not overwhelm. It does not demand immediate commitment. Predators, however, thrive on speed. The quicker they entangle you, the less time you have to think critically, to observe, to see the cracks beneath the surface. Let me share a story. Linda, a widow in her late 60s, met Greg through a mutual friend. He was charismatic, attentive, full of energy. Within 2 weeks, he was already talking about spending the rest of their lives together. "We're meant to be," he told her one evening over dinner. "I've never felt this way before." He sent her love notes in the morning, surprised her with gifts, made her feel desired and cherished. But her daughter saw it differently. "Mom," she said, "how does he know he loves you so much? It's only been a month." Linda laughed it off. "When you know, you know," she replied. Except she didn't know, because real love doesn't sprint, it walks. And had she slowed down, she might have noticed that Greg's affection wasn't as selfless as it seemed. Financial dependence, predators often come dressed as victims. Their misfortunes are endless. A failed business, a past divorce that left them with nothing, a job loss that wasn't their fault. And right when you start to trust them, they introduce a problem they just can't handle alone. They don't ask for much, just a little help, just until things get better. And because you care, because you're kind, you step in. That's when it begins. If someone you're dating is already leaning on you financially before the relationship is even fully formed, stop. This is not love, it is dependence. Isolation. A healthy relationship embraces community. A manipulative one seeks to cut you off from it. Watch for small, seemingly innocent remarks. "Your friends don't understand what we have. Your family doesn't like me because they're jealous. We don't need anyone else. It's just you and me." Slowly, your world shrinks. One day you realize you haven't seen your closest friends in months. Family calls go unanswered. The support system you once had is no longer there to warn you when something isn't right. And that's exactly how they want it. Emotional manipulation. Have you ever questioned something about your partner, only for them to turn it back on you? Maybe you asked why they borrowed money without repaying it, and suddenly you're the one who doesn't trust enough. Maybe you expressed a need for more space, and now you're accused of being distant and cold. This is a game they play. If they can make you feel guilty, they can control you. If they can make you doubt yourself, they can keep you in their web. Real love does not require manipulation. It does not twist your words. It does not make you feel guilty for having boundaries. It respects. It listens. It values truth over control. Control over your life. At first, it might look like care. "I just don't want you to worry about money. I'll handle our finances." Or, "You shouldn't be going out so much. It's not safe." Slowly your choices become theirs. What you wear, where you go, who you see, what you spend. Until one day you look around and realize you are no longer in control of your own life. Buddhist perspective. The power of discernment. Buddhism teaches us the importance of discernment, the ability to see things clearly without illusion or self-deception. When we open our hearts, we must not close our eyes. Love should empower, not drain. It should feel like freedom, not obligation. Ask yourself, is this relationship lifting you up, or is it pulling you under? Does it bring peace, or does it bring quiet anxiety? Do you feel stronger, or do you feel like you're losing yourself piece by piece? If you recognize any of these red flags, listen, truly listen. Your heart may long for connection, but your wisdom must be stronger than your loneliness. Let love be a gift, not a trap. And above all, never mistake kindness for trust. Trust must be earned, not given away freely to those who haven't proven they deserve it. Building a relationship on wisdom, not just emotion. Love is a beautiful and sacred connection, but without wisdom, it can become a path filled with illusion and suffering. True love is not built on fleeting emotions or unchecked desires. It is rooted in clarity, patience, and deep understanding. When we approach love wisely, we allow it to be a source of peace rather than turmoil, of growth rather than loss. So how do we approach love with wisdom rather than mere emotion? How do we ensure that love enhances our lives rather than diminishes our sense of self? Know your worth, the Buddha once said. You, yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. Yet how often do we forget this? How many times do we seek love as if it is something to attain, as if we are incomplete without it? Love is not meant to fill us, it is meant to complement us. You are already whole. You do not need another person to validate your existence or define your happiness. Let me tell you about Sarah. Sarah was in her early 60s, a retired nurse with a love for gardening and reading. She had been single for many years, and while content, she sometimes wondered if life would feel fuller with a partner. Then she met Daniel. He was charming, engaging, and made her feel seen in a way she hadn't felt in years. It was flattering, even intoxicating. But as their relationship progressed, she started noticing small things. Daniel often dismissed her interests, subtly making her feel as if her hobbies were trivial. He expected her to rearrange her schedule to fit his, rarely considering her needs. When she expressed her concerns, he would laugh them off, telling her she was overthinking. One evening, as she sat in her garden, tending to her flowers, she had a realization. She had spent her entire life building a world she loved. Why was she letting someone else make her feel like it wasn't enough? She remembered the Buddha's words. She was already whole, and with that realization, she chose herself. She ended the relationship, not out of bitterness, but out of love. Love for herself. Move slowly. Just as a tree does not bear fruit overnight, a healthy relationship takes time. Love that is rushed often blinds us. It sweeps us away in a flood of emotions, preventing us from seeing reality as it is. Infatuation is instant, but true connection unfolds gradually. Buddhism teaches us to approach life with mindfulness, and this is especially true in relationships. Observe, listen, reflect. Take the time to truly know someone, not just their words but their actions. How do they treat people when they think no one is watching? How do they handle frustration? Do they live with integrity, or are they simply telling you what you want to hear? Love that stands the test of time does not require urgency. If something is real, it will endure patience. Keep your independence. One of the greatest mistakes people make in relationships is losing themselves. They merge their lives completely, forgetting that they once had their own dreams, their own joys. Independence, financial, emotional, and social, is essential. Keep your assets separate, not out of distrust, but out of wisdom. Protect what you have built. Keep your friendships strong. Do not abandon them in the pursuit of romance. Love should expand your world, not shrink it. A relationship should be two whole people walking side by side, not one person carrying the other. A strong love respects individuality while nurturing companionship. Seek wise counsel. In Buddhist tradition, the Sangha, the community, provides guidance. No one walks the path of wisdom alone. When we are in love, our emotions can cloud our judgment. That is why it is crucial to listen to those who care about us. If your friends or family see red flags, do not dismiss them. They are not trying to control your choices. They are trying to protect your peace. Love should be transparent. It should not require secrecy or isolation. If you feel the need to defend your partner against the concerns of those who have always had your best interests at heart, pause and ask yourself why. Practice mindfulness in love. Love is only real when it is grounded in awareness. It is easy to get lost in fantasies, in the idea of a person, rather than who they truly are. Ask yourself, am I in love with this person, or with the way they make me feel? There is a difference. Mindful love is about presence. It is about seeing the person in front of you as they truly are, not as you wish them to be. It is about accepting their flaws, recognizing their patterns, and being honest with yourself about whether they align with your values. When love is real, it does not ask you to abandon yourself. It does not demand that you shrink or silence your instincts. Instead, it deepens your wisdom, strengthens your spirit, and allows you to remain fully you while walking alongside another soul. Love is one of the greatest joys of life, but only when it is built on wisdom. Without mindfulness, love can lead us into suffering, but with awareness, patience, and self-respect, it becomes a force of harmony, of light, of true companionship. So, as you walk this path, remember, you are already whole. Move slowly, protect your independence, seek the wisdom of those who love you, and above all, be mindful in love. Because the right love, the kind of love that truly belongs in your life, will never require you to abandon yourself to find it. Conclusion: love with open eyes. Love at any stage of life is a gift, but only when it is rooted in clarity, respect, and genuine connection. It should be a source of peace, not a reason for distress, a wellspring of joy, not a slow erosion of your well-being. And while the idea of companionship is beautiful, it is far better to walk alone in serenity than to be entangled in a relationship that drains your spirit, diminishes your happiness, or threatens your financial security. Buddhism teaches us the profound importance of discernment, seeing things as they truly are, not merely as we wish them to be. This wisdom is essential in love. Infatuation can cloud judgment, loneliness can mislead, and hope can sometimes keep us in situations that are unbalanced or unfulfilling. But true love, real love, does not demand that we ignore reality. Instead, it invites us to be present, aware, and intentional in our choices. So, my dear friends, if you are considering opening your heart again, do so with wisdom. Love is meant to uplift, not burden. It is meant to complement, not complete. It is meant to be a sacred exchange between two whole individuals, not a transaction that leaves one depleted. Love freely, but not blindly. Trust, but verify. Give your heart, but never at the cost of your peace. And always remember this: your happiness, your well-being, and your inner tranquility are worth more than any fleeting romance. If love does not bring you peace, it is not the love meant for you. May your path be filled with light. May your heart remain open yet protected. And may you always know that being whole within yourself is the greatest love of all. If this message resonated with you, if you found wisdom in these words, I invite you to join our growing community by subscribing to the channel. Let's walk this path together, with wisdom, with awareness, and with hearts wide open. Namaste.